Welcome to Lost Without Japan, a travel podcast about the life-changing experiences of exploring Japan and those moments we would be lost without. For your listening pleasure, allow me to introduce your very own Kanko Guido, Michael.
Welcome to this week's episode of Lost Without Japan, a podcast based on Japan and your Lost Without moments. I'm your director of travel for TKIC Studio Production, and I'm coming to you with positive thoughts and excitement for your next journey to Japan and my return most likely in 2 summers. I'm going to be working really hard to have that happen. I want to just take a bit of time for today's episode and say thank you. Part of the reason that I'm reaching out for today's episode or, putting this out into the podcast waves is simply to do that. Thank you for listening. Thank you for returning again and again. Thank you for reaching out and saying that you enjoy the show. It's happened a lot throughout the time that I've been recording and doing this. And back when I started 4 years ago of August, it was a definitely a different world than what it is now. 2021, and hoping that I'd be able to make it back. And this show was a way to connect, feel connected, put out some positive vibes into the world, and hope that that led to an opening that was sooner rather than later. And although it didn't happen as soon as I would have necessarily liked at the time of recording, it did happen, and it continues to be something that we get to. I at least feel super fortunate that it's there, and it is something that is, fortunately for me, accessible and something that has been a driving force for me for some time. This episode is, like I said, a giving a thanks and kind of a celebration of things, of the fact that, as I've kind of just said just moments ago, but this is a celebration of 4 years of bi weekly recording. And with the exception of one episode where it was, I think, a week later is when I finally did it. Um, when it was early in season one. And one again recently that luckily a listener of the show reached out and said, "Hey, Mike, something's going on." And as I said in the previous episode, something going on with Lipson and it putting it out, even though it was scheduled, recorded, and everything was there for it. They were having technical issues. But all of that aside and rambling aside, it's been 4 years. And it's going to be something that I continue to do. I will admit, over the past 2 years, maybe not the complete 2 years time of frame of mind, but say for a good, year and change, we'll just put it at that. I really had some struggles with work, place, happiness. And, I'm fortunate to have a job and fortunately to have one that I can go to, on a regular basis. That's nothing to not be thankful for, but anyone that's been in a workplace where the environment is anything but healthy, I guess is the best way to say it. You really don't realize, I think it's almost like a relationship. You really don't realize how much that negativity or um, the struggles that are going on or just the overall like attitude or negativity that is your daily life um, really does weigh down on you, and how much of an impact that had on my happiness and just me being able to be me. And I know that that had impacted areas of my life, including the show. You know what I mean? In some way, shape, and form, and just, a lot of areas of my life without me realizing just how much it was. And I have found myself in a significantly better situation, um, due to me being able to start this school year, off in a new building with new students, new staff, new community, and really just get back to being myself and getting thanked for being myself and doing what I normally do. And, I don't need to be thanked, but I've forgotten what it was even like to have anybody recognize what you were doing on a daily basis, or offer to assist you or check in on you and see how things are going. And I realize a lot of us can't be in an environment that's like that. Shoot, my 24 years of teaching, I've been fortunate enough that of those 24 years, 7 of them were in a wonderful environment, with the wonderful administration, and I consider myself extremely lucky that basically a third of my time was in that, because I do feel that some people go without. But I do truly feel that I'm back in a much more healthier environment. Not to ramble too much about things that it's not Japan, but it's, hey, it's about me. It's and me is the show, as you know. But like, I was not feeling well on Monday of this previous week, coming into school, and you're kind of getting back in the swing of things. A lot of energy goes into the beginning of a school year for any teacher, but if you're beginning a new year and then moving 13 years of things that you had from one building to the other, and having to go through that and then go through what had been left behind, was definitely a lot of things that had gone on. So I was rolling into the week, did not sleep well, woke up at 4 in the morning, and felt like I was running a fever and queasy, and just really didn't sleep well the entire night. I don't know if it was sleep based, if, just beginning of the year ick that teachers like to call when we're all back in one building and kind of sharing germs with each other. But I had both, I went in and I said, hey, new building, new job, you got to find out, like, hey, if I need to call in sick, like, what do I do? I was stayed late that night and was, creating sub plans in case I was out, and I was doing everything I can to kind of like positively think myself out of it, because beginning of the school year, you don't want to miss any time. And if it had been later in the year, I might have just taken the day and the following day rested and probably came back feeling good. Um, but I had went up to my administrator and basically like, hey, this is before I was supposed to cover lunch and recess duty. We covered lunchrooms, we covered recess. You're in an elementary building. You're doing way more than what was required of people, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, whatever it is. There's just so much more that you do that's beyond what you would think your job is. But that's just what it is, I think, for everybody in any field right now. But my principal was like, hey, you're supposed to go out and cover lunch, right? And I said, yeah. And he said, why don't you go back to your room? Just rest, relax. I'll take this portion of things for you. And, we'll see if you can make it through the rest of the day. If you can't, let us know and we'll find coverage for you. And I went to go out for recess, having rested for a little bit, and there was my assistant principal, and she's like, "Nope, go back to your room, rest, relax. I got this." Like, like just headspace, my friends. I feel so much better with that. Like, I mean, it's kind of like you're in an early dating relationship where everything's great and there's no warts, and everybody's just having a wonderful time, prior to having to work through things together. Like, so not everything will be sunshine and rainbows, but I have been in situations before, like I said, with that 7 years before with a different administrator, and things were so much better, knowing that you were supported, knowing that you were valued. Um, just having that does so much, just to help you be a better you. So as things are kind of rolling into this school year, I think me hitting this 4-year mark and me having this episode today um, really comes at a perfect time. And I really do plan to get back into setting up more interviews, for our show, continuing our day trips and continuing to do, our good time episodes in whatever form that is. Right now, that could end up looking different. I have my friends that have been on this show that I do call friends and I've got to know over this time, Matt and David. But both have, lives outside of this, and I know they're going to continue to be on, but it just not going to be most likely my friends every episode like we've been very fortunate to have. I'm really wishing the best for Maurice. He has some things that are coming that he kind of talked about. He has some projects, he has some shows. He's going to be going to Japan to shoot basically another photo book. He might have some more things in addition to that, even that could make it to where he's there even more. So, just going to require, when he can fit it in, getting together with us and recording, he will. Not that he doesn't want to, but he's got a lot going on. And focusing in on himself and his photography, which is amazing, and being in Japan to get to do that. Um, feel like I joke with him from time to time, but I'm like, hey, glad to know you before you became famous, right? So, like I said, we'll fit that in. David and I will continue to record too. David, though, has a life as well, and he is currently trying to win tournaments abroad. For Gundam and One Piece and card gaming, and it's a huge part of his life too. He has his partner, and he's not, for shocker, just, waiting to, sit there and record with me anytime that I'm looking to, have him do it. So, I said, we're still going to have that. We're still going to have that be a portion of what's going on in the years ahead. I just appreciate your understanding that when it isn't always the same. And I think that's life. Even other podcasts I've listened to where they did have a group of people that would record, that group did change and, come and go. And I said, I guess like the consistency in all of this is the fact that it's going to be me, because if there's no me, there's no Lost Without Japan podcast, right? So, regardless of what's going on, you are going to have me. It just our guests may change at times. Sam has been on; he'll be on again. Like our other past guests, we'll have ourselves as well. And one thing that I'm looking to do through this show, and for those of you that maybe are just getting in at this point in time, you haven't caught everything, and I don't know, like, there are some people that reach out to say, "Hey, we've listened to all 4 years of your show," but I don't know how many people do that. Like, they're listening to a bunch of different shows. They may come into a certain show and kind of pick up from where it's at, but not everyone's going to go back through and do an entire back catalog, for things. So for those that haven't gone through the entire back catalog, I part of why I'm doing this show is, not only it gives me someone to talk to. I've been told more than once in my life that I talk about Japan a lot. And this gives me an avenue to do it. And some may say that I talk about Japan too much. But those of you listening to this show, I know you probably, you for some of you could do with even more than our every other week time, and for some of you, the every other week time is a perfect amount of time. But I am building relationships, and it's going to be something that I want to continue to do, as much as possible until I go to move. Because right now, my friends, I'm about 8 or 9 years away from calling Japan, at least in part, my home, right? I plan on living there at least part of the time, if not all the time for a set amount of time. And I know that the requirements to be there are going to continue to change yearly. And I really hope in some way, shape, or form, by the time I go to head out there in 8 or 9 years, that it's more lax to get over there. I mean, again, you're not going to want to just let anybody and their mother in. I get it. You want to make sure that people can support themselves, that they can not be a strain on the economy, especially with the such a big difference in language. So I get their reasoning and things, but I would hope at some point in time that they're able to get to where if you're retired and you have an income coming from that retirement, um, maybe you know, give me a shot. I don't know long term if that's going to be my forever home. I know it will be my home for a while, and I do appreciate people that have reached out to me, and said, "Hey, Mike, living in Japan is, incredibly difficult. You either have to have a large amount of money, be investment in things. There's all these different requirements." And people reach out, and I know they do so just out of a concern of like, "Hey, I just don't think you're gonna be able to move here." And I'm like, I know, like I know that that's not the case, right? But it is where I want to be. If that means having a place also in the Philippines with my sister and her wife, and kind of bouncing back and forth between the two when it comes to that time, great. I'd love to have a place in Japan, some sort of RV van that when the weather is fallish, and autumn, for some people might call, temps that I could just drive around and camp and see everything that Japan has to offer. And when it's the hottest that it can possibly be in the summer, possibly I could do what my dad and mom had done for an extended period of time, where if Sam's in Tokyo or another place in Japan, going to visit him. And if my daughter decides still to call, the United States, somewhere in the United States or somewhere else in the country or in the world, home, go visit them for a while and escape the excessive humidity that is Japan in summer. So, it's still a work in progress and things, but the show and the relationships that I've built are things that I hold incredibly dear. And each and every one of you that listens to this show means more than you could ever know. There have been times when people have reached out and I've been struggling to get an episode out, and getting that motivation when you're struggling with other things outside of that. That continue to reach out and remind you why you do what you do. It's definitely not to grow rich. I'll tell you that right now, financially, I should say. But I would consider myself rich from a standpoint of having some amazing relationships and friendships that I've begun to build and harbor and will continue to hold incredibly dear to myself as the years go on. Because my goal is after Addison and I go in 2 years of time, that after that, that my trips could be to go see Sam because I'm hoping that he gets out there and goes to school out there, does Japanese language study, whatever, meets somebody, decides that's where he wants to come home, and until for those following 7 years, 6 years until I can be out there full time. I eventually want to get to a time to where school ends, I pack up my room, I hop a plane, and I'm in Japan. It may not be, it's not going to be me, traveling nonstop for the entire summer, but it would be picking some places to call home and living in Japan and seeing what it's like. Renting a place long term, having to deal with trash, having to deal with different things that you're there, having some sort of cell phone bill, trying to begin to get portions of life together or see what they're like prior to having that be full time. And as much as I think right now that Hiroshima is going to be my home, in Japan, I'd like to check more of Hiroshima out to kind of narrow that down even more. And then when I'm traveling more by myself, and less as a guide for others in these trips after my daughter, explore more. There's still so much of Japan to see. I don't know where I'm going to fall in love with. It could just continue to be Hiroshima, and if that's the case, the people that I've gotten to know over that time, that's amazing. It's wonderful. And Sam and I have talked about how, him having baseball tickets up in Tokyo and me having tickets down in Hiroshima, of, traveling back and forth to see games together sounds amazing. So, that's there. But kudos to you, kudos to me, kudos to us, and having 4 years of Lost Without Japan together. Sponsor of the show today. I'm gonna, as I take my drink before I mention what it is, Diet Mountain Dew, or Mountain Dew Zero, I should say, as trying to have something that at least feels sweet, but isn't, pure sugar and pure things that are there, or candy bar, or other stuff. So I do know, uh, pun intended, that finding Mountain Dew in Japan is really hit or miss, and hard to do. So if you're listening to the show right now and have found Diet Mountain Dew, I mean, finding Mountain Dew itself is hard enough, but if you have found a place and a spot location to find Diet Mountain Dew Zero, whatever in Japan, please turn me on to this. Maybe it's Costco, you know, because I've been to Costco like once out there. I just don't know if that's something you know they might have more of, being more of a potential for foreign visitors and shoppers and people that are expats or whatever it is over there. But please reach out to me if you happen to have a spot in Japan. Again, not for the regular Mountain Dew, but for that diet or whatever, I will be eternally thankful and send a sticker your way. No doubt about it. As thanks. I have, as I've kind of led off and thinking, there are a lot of people that do and have reached out to the show. Justin, friend of the show, the one that had mentioned that the episode was not out and will be a future guest. I'll be reaching out to you soon, Justin, because I'm assuming you're going to listen to this before I message you about interviewing you again, because we've been talking back and forth about that. But you know all these different people and things that I've had for that, I just continue to be even more thankful. I have a bunch of interviews that I've kind of created questions and things for, and I'll be reaching out to some people, or reaching out to some people, reaching out to others that are new, in regards to just getting more voices on the show and more relationships built with us. One of those things, besides Justin, was Michael Westbay, who reached out to me. And Michael um, has been a great resource for so many people, and I'd say like even more people potentially than my show, because his Japan baseball ticket purchase site that I used with my son and on my own with friends was like a huge service to people from overseas looking to catch baseball in Japan. And unfortunately, he was asked to cease and desist and stop providing that service to others, because in Japan, buying tickets is buying tickets for yourself. Like they're very strict on a secondary market, and that can very much result in you being barred entry to a park or to a sumo event or whatever it is. If you do find, services or things that you end up trying to go through, it's really important they are buying them in your name. Um, and even if that happens, you not having an address in Japan or some sort of Japan phone number, or, you know, other things that are Japan based, could end up, even if the ticket is in your name, stopping you from, again, being able to take up, in those events. So it's nothing that is 100%. But Michael did reach out to me, and provided a spreadsheet that he provides to others. And I will kind of link this to today's show. And again, Michael, thank you for continuing to reach out to me and point me right, because he had reached out and said basically when Sam and I did our talk of all the different stadiums kind of in Japan, that and our experiences, because they're, that's exactly what they are, our experiences with buying tickets in Japan, that was not the case, anymore, for a lot of different teams. Just because, since kind of like I'd done that for salmon myself, previously, and it's like he said, things have changed from one year to the next, or within months of the next. So even though it had been like a little over a year, and a half or whatever it was, like between purchase things and having things work before, that's not necessarily the case anymore. So he sent me a spreadsheet, which I'll link to today's show. And if you do take advantage of this, I know that he doesn't require it, but if you could please, down at the bottom of it, if you scroll like, if things here, there's like, he has the whole schedule for 2025. You could reach out next year. I'm sure he'll do the same thing for 2026. In it, he also has, the region, what team is in the region, the name of the stadium, where it's located. All of that is here. And he also points out some things that, are less known, but, Japan baseball teams do, as he says in his spreadsheet, play a lot of games at third party stadiums. And he's kind of listed those as well, with major cities and where things can go through, be it, Okinawa for spring training, or, all the different other ones for Tigers, Buffaloes, Dragons, Giants, and so on. But there's a lot of information that's there. He also, as you tab over, gives you sale dates. And for those of you that don't know it, that does not mean April, my friends. When baseball starts, or even March, for a lot of teams, that's there for buying tickets. And he wanted to kind of pass that along to you. And like some of the sale dates end up beginning in December, um, January, February, and then that kind of builds itself up for on sale dates for like March and April, May, June, and just continues to be, like, as they release tickets, like almost in blocks, where it's like, games from like March to May, from April to this. So you can kind of look through this and see when those dates are, when those sale dates are. Some of those are discount days, some are rescheduled games, makeup games. All of that is there, and there's a ton of information. And again, that's comes from being on the ground and being in the know and being, Michael, for Michael Westbay, right? Um, but he also does provide links to the Giants, the Tigers, Bay Stars, Carp, direct ones that are here, emails to contact them, contact forms to contact them. And so, like, for some of them, like the Hanshin Tigers and things, they have requirements for passport, country, and name, for photos, email and a phone number. Some do have, like, click on buy ticket for English button, for like the Dragons. Um, so there are different things that you can end up going for as far as picking up. But know that, like, all of this is basically what Michael wanted to let me know and let you know, is that, to purchase these tickets, and this goes for concert tickets that I found myself, and I've been fortunate enough to have a friend, you know, s- buy tickets again under my name, there, so that I could go to a concert. But we don't all have that. But like, you don't want to be barred entry. Like if you're going to go sumo, or J League Soccer is one of the links that he has here as well. Uh, and so some of the sites, like some of the baseball sites, some of the sumo says, you have to have an address in Japan and a phone number, right? So some people try to work around that by, when they're actually in Japan, of using the hotel they're staying at and the phone number of the hotel, and putting that as their address and putting that as the phone number. However, like, this can run you into issues, as he says, like if you um use that as a workaround or things, and you look to have tickets sent there, um, you know, and you're not there anymore, or you haven't arrived yet, and tickets are sent there, you could be out the tickets, right? Um, Also, there are a lot of people, like a lot of different things, a lot of different teams. You have to create a membership. There's a ton of hoops to go through to get that, to create an ID, having some sort of email, that is through some sort of Japan service again, or just something that shows that you have an address there. Like, it won't let you even put in an address that's anything other than a spot in Japan, right? And for the longest time, I had a music service that I've used, and I had to put something for Japan. And I was like, hey, I don't want to put something that someone else is going to claim as their address, right? Like, I don't want to put someone's home and then run into an issue where somebody's like, no, this is my home. I don't know who the other person is claiming this, but here's proof that I live here, and me lose my account. So I picked like a restaurant that I liked and I put that as there because I figured, you know, definitely a lot less likely to have someone claim that, for things, but I do run the risk of, potentially losing, right? That this stuff that's here. But even if you are able to jump through all the hoops, create different things that are here, um, if you have something that is like this tried and true thing that you figured out, like gets you past all of that, reach out to myself, reach out to Michael at japanball.com so he can pass along the info to others because he still has people like myself and others that reach out to him. At the end, as Michael has said, I would agree with 100%. And I would say, um, you know, Japan really is missing out and should have some sort of service, kind of like Japan Ball tickets used to be, for people that are looking to visit Japan, for concerts, for other stuff. It's here, to allow others to have access to it. But again, what they're running into right now is bots, right? And they are targeting bots, and they can't get these bots that are like purchasing tickets in bulk. And then again, if you didn't purchase the ticket and you go to a stadium, like even for people living in Japan, right? I want to go see a Hanshin Tigers game and I want to see it on my birthday. Tickets have sold out because bots have bought them. I have to go to a secondary market to purchase tickets to go to the game for my birthday, right? And I arrived there and, you know, they weren't purchased under my name originally, and you don't get to go. So there's a lot going on that's more than just, right now, at least, unfortunately, providing tickets to people from overseas, but kind of getting a hold of this bot issue and problem that are here. But I do say, hey, like if you're going to be looking to buy tickets and things, and you look to take advantage of this schedule, like I said, I'll link it to today's show notes. In it too, if you find it says if you find this information useful, please consider buying me a coffee. And if you do, um, find this useful, please, buy Mike a coffee, right? Not me, Mike, but Michael Westbay, Mike. You can buy me, something as well. Don't worry. But I say, like, if you use the service things here, even if it's like $5, whatever you can afford, um, you know, uh, there's a lot of things as far as services go, that charge, like a fair amount of money. So that being said, you could try to go through that, try to create it, and see if it goes through. I was looking to, before I hopped on the show, try to purchase a ticket through, for the Buffaloes. And I got pretty far through it, but I didn't want to like purchase a ticket and then not have it go to any use, right? I'm not swimming in enough money to, you know, just throw away money at this point in time, especially with me saving to go. But I got to the point of like putting in credit card information to click purchase. So if you're able to, go through some of these teams, like I said before, I did the Giants, you know, so that is one that's on here, that I was able to purchase that had like it more accessible, for foreigners. But man, you're gonna have to be aware of those dates and when they go on sale, and be up at odd times and be in there with everybody else, trying to get, those tickets along with the bots and hope that you're successful, right? And it's worth it. Totally 100% is. Michael has also said that he's had seen some services out there for people that are purchasing tickets kind of like they did in the past. So they are out there. I just haven't used them, right? So I feel differently about like putting those out to you and saying um, this is like this is something you can go through. One of them is I hate the when people are like, I don't want to do this, and then you don't share it. They don't share anything, and you're like, hey man, let me make the decision, right? But I say this as anyone to have like I've not purchased tickets through them. I've not used their service. I don't know how they are with customer service. Or I don't know if you're giving your credit card information to someone that's gonna have anything end up coming your way beyond just you giving someone money and not getting anything back, right? Um, so like one right now as far as like August 31st of 2025 was chiketo .org. It's CHIKETTO.org. And they have kind of like various things they're purchasing for, but until kind of like that service, because they're purchasing tickets in the name of the person that purchased them, like would be your name. But as soon as they, unfortunately, if they get big enough, they begin to get noticed by other baseball teams or whatever it is in Japan that does witness them, they'll be asked to shut down too, right? So try to do that, right? Try to you can see if it's really set up for you. Again, as I said, and what Michael has said, the Giants make it super easy to get tickets in English. Um, some tickets do end up in e-tix, Michael has said, and it's a multilingual, foreign credit card friendly service. However, um, it's it ends up like being one of those things, like where if you try to purchase a ticket through it, um, like you're just kind of like trying to, and you're just in the queue with everyone else trying to get tickets, and you're unable to get anything except for maybe like one individual seat, not like for two friends, right? Um, but it said like it's one of the most like that service because it's so open and things. Unfortunately, Michael said that and scalpers know how easy or how easy it can be to set things up and not a lot of safeguards in place. So everyone's trying to take advantage of that, even people that should not be, right? But yes, so like I said, I wanted to thank Michael for correcting me. As far as like, the information out, I always want it to be accurate, right? And I want it to help you get tickets and help you in your trips to Japan. And that's why, from the 4 years of talking to different people, I have great people like him and others that continue to listen to the show and update me when when I'm wrong, because we're all human, right? But I do thank you all so incredibly much again for the 4 years worth of time. Um, I really that was it. This is the part behind the show is just to say thank you and continue to thank you for your support. And continue to have you as someone that's listening to the show. Um, you know, it really means a lot. Um, Eventually, I'm gonna have my friend because I think I'd alluded to having a guest on for our 4 year celebration of time on it. Um, at some point in time, Tom's gonna join us. He's for those any of those that remember from the first Nomakai, like season one adventure of things kicking off and his story of traveling and chocolate and all the different stuff that he shared with us. We will have him back on the show, and he could be part of that happy time or just a time to hang out as well. So, if you have anything you'd like to see from the show, or you have people that you'd like me to reach out to interview, or places in Japan to go to, um, feel free to reach out to me through Instagram at Lost Without Japan, or my lostwithoutjapan at gmail.com. Email probably is the best at the moment. I'm trying to limit the amount of doom scrolling they say, that's on my time, and trying to put it more towards the show, my job, you know, and time with family, friends, and doing things a bit more productive for myself than just kind of scrolling through different things. So if you don't hear from me and you try out from that, through Instagram, try me by email and you'll get me there. Okay. Thank you again. Thank you for everybody. Look forward to 4 more years and celebrating 8 years and being, almost halfway to uh, making that jump across the seas with you, the listener. And if you continue to, ride along with me, I'd love to hear. Take a moment of your time. Just say, hey, how long you been listening to the show, and when you jumped on, it'd be appreciated. Love it. And if you end up winning the lotto or come into a whole bunch of funds, feel free to reach out, follow that link for the Patreon as well and help, put some stuff towards all of that will be towards some audio recording and things when I return with my daughter. Provide some sights and sounds of Japan for you when we get back in. And I'll never say no if someone wins the lotto for helping me get that first business class ticket or first class ticket if you win that current, you know, lotto for over here, the Powerball that's over $1 billion. I'm not going to say no to that either, my friends. So just thank you all, though. But at the end of the day, what means a lot to me is just hearing from all of you. And I'll stop my rambling now because otherwise, I will continue to just do so and say thank you. So, on behalf of everyone else in our show, thank you again for joining us today. From all of us from Lost Without Japan, thank you, thank you from the bottom of my heart. And I know both David and for Maurice and for everyone else that has ever been on the show appreciates for what you do. Um, it means a lot. And if you've made it this far at the end of this time, my friends, don't forget to check out the MAPE Lopo discount code currently for listeners of our show, and that like 70% off and huge discount that's off all the different conjugation. $60, I think it is. $60 or $70 instead of $200. Take advantage of it. Say we sent you, and like I said, I'm not going to get anything from it except for a beer when we do end up meeting up. But I would love for him to know that his time spent with me resulted in someone reaching out and saying hi. Thank you.